On today's show, in preparation for the new Wolverine film, we are continuing our look into some of the best ever Wolverine comics. Alrighty then. So we read some more Wolverine books this week.
Yes, we did.
And one of those Wolverine books was...
Take your pick.
Enemy of the State.
Yes, it was, by Mark Millar and Dale's favourite, John Romita Jr.
For those of you that don't know, Dale doesn't like John Romita Jr.
No, I do not.
I do like John Romita Jr.
Yes, you do, for some weird
We
reason.
debated for a good 5 minutes over whether or not we should read this book.
Yeah, but seeing as how I picked pretty much the majority of the list, you got to pick this one. So tell the folks at home what this book is about.
So it's essentially this dude, Gorgon,
Yep.
sort of takes over a lot of different crime factions, and Wolverine, it's Japan again.
This feels like an 8-year-old giving a presentation about what he did over the summer. So I just, there was a thing that I did with a well and the dog fell in it and it was a good summer.
I am not well. I have illness.
Multiple.
He goes to Japan. It's Wolverine.
It's not in Japan!
Isn't it?
No!
It starts in Japan.
It may start in Japan, yes.
It's ninjas.
Wolverine's brainwashed. He's then a member of Hydra and the Hand, and he's doing odd jobs for them, killing off supers. Nick Fury and Elektra are trying to stop him.
That's good.
What did you think of Enemy of the State?
I liked Enemy of the State. I read Enemy of the State a while ago. I don't know if you can tell, but I especially enjoyed John Romita Jr.'s artwork, which actually I think is very different, John Romita Jr., to what we get in Kick-Ass and Captain America. Like, it's less defined, I think, and I really enjoy the artwork in this. I really enjoy the way this is written. I have read that first issue a couple of times, and I always really, really enjoy the way that starts out and the way that unfolds with the kid going missing and the way that's written. The Wolverine revival stuff is handled really well. Also, the Wolverine Elektra stuff.
Yeah.
I really love in this book.
Yeah.
Like their dialogue together and his respect for her is a really interesting dynamic, and it reminds me a lot of what we saw in Wolverine Kitty Pryde with his respect for some of the ninjas and some of the assassins and things there. So the only caveat I have is it's not what amazing, go out and read it type of book. It's just solid Wolverine fun that I enjoyed. Lots of cool cameos.
Kills a lot of people.
Lots of cool cameos, and I like a cameo.
I also like a cameo. So I really wanted to enjoy this book. I can't get over John Romita's artwork. But I say that now at the start as a kind of, I don't like John Romita Jr. If you don't mind his artwork, you'll actually really enjoy this book. Mark Millar's writing is solid. The premise of this book is really interesting. I didn't get a chance to read Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is the kind of follow-on, and if you want the complete story, you need to read that. But yeah, it's really interesting to see this kind of more animalistic side of Wolverine, which is definitely something we're going to cover when we talk about one of the next books. But yeah, it's really interesting to see that kind of gets over your gripe of last week, and that, you know, he's the guy who kills, but he doesn't kill, because who kills a lot of people in this book? In fact, in all the books this week, he kills a lot of people. Yeah, it's just the kind of the best of Wolverine. A lot of great cameos. You know, you get the Elektra, Fantastic Four, Nick Fury, Daredevil. You know, there's a real great appreciation in this book for the kind of the street guys, the non-supers, which I really like. And yeah, there's just something about Mark Millar's writing that I just really enjoy. This is a really good example of it. Again, as you said, this isn't amazing. This isn't a go out and read. But if you've read everything else, it's a good place to go. But I also don't think it's Mark Millar's best Wolverine story, which again is something we'll get into next week, I'm sure. Okay, so the next book we're going to talk about is Coyote Crossing. It was a 5-part series by Greg Rucka, who's very famous for writing Wolverine Max, Gotham Central, and we talked about one of his books, the Lazarus he wrote, that we talked about the other week. And this book kind of follows Wolverine, follows Logan. On one hand, he is trying to find out who's behind these coyote smugglings in between Mexico and the US. I think it was 19 people died in the back of the truck, and he's decided to close down this operation. Meanwhile, you've also got a law enforcement agent after Wolverine, just on a personal level, not on a I need to get this guy. So you get this interesting dynamic of him being followed and him trying to follow people. Yeah, as I said, Greg Rucka writes the book. Dan, what did you think of the book?
Well, okay, first off, I don't love the way this looks.
Okay. I can't remember who the artist is, to be honest.
It's kind of clean, but it's not very detailed.
Okay.
Faces aren't very detailed. Wolverine is a bit clean cut for me. He's sort of got long hair. He's not as shaggy and as rugged as he is in other stories. Certainly the next story we're going to talk about. So, right off
a lot of alluding in this episode.
Yeah. Coming soon.
Talk about the next one.
Stay tuned.
So, right off the bat, that was just sort of it wasn't bad by any means. It wasn't distracting. It's easy enough to read, but it wasn't spectacular. I didn't personally find any innovation from that.
Okay.
I do really like the idea of Wolverine just being about his business, and something horrible happens while he's on his travels. I get the feeling he's someone who travels a lot, and he's thinking, right, well, I'm going to sort that out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I like that sort of when it isn't major cosmic stuff or, you know, Avengers stuff or X-Men. It's just he's on his way somewhere and he thinks, all right, this is injustice. I need to sort it out. And I like that Wolverine just as a bloke, just as a good guy, just dealing with that stuff. Yeah. So that's nice. His interactions with people in this book are cool as well. Yeah. They're very funny. We said about Jason Aaron, I'll say it about Rucka as well. He has a very good grasp of the way Wolverine would handle a situation. The interactions with the reporter, where he's like, go on, just leave me alone kind of thing. I'm not who you think I am. They all felt very real and very good. But I have to offer a very similar review that I did for Enemy of the State, which was, again, this was fine. This was a good read, but not, oh my god, amazing, rush out and buy.
I'm a bit different to you on that one. I really enjoyed this book. Unlike you, I really enjoyed the artwork.
I just find it a bit simple. I don't know.
It is. I think towards the later parts of the issue, it really does start to come into its own. Especially when he finally has the raid on the mansion of, I can't remember what the villain's name is that he's after, but when he finally gets to the mansion, he starts going through all these security guards. Like it really hits its own. There's a twist by the 4th issue of this book, end of the 1st, start of the 4th, that's really interesting, and it's great to see that kind of dynamic of Wolverine. You know, all of a sudden he has this moral lapse after disposing of 20, 30 guards. Now all of a sudden he's like, which I really like. Find it very interesting, things like that. I think Greg Rucka is a great writer. As you said, the interactions between these characters, fantastic. I really enjoyed this book, and I do think it is one to go and pick up if you haven't read it. The thing that I didn't like about this book the most is the covers. Those covers, I'm really not a fan of. That kind of it's the kind of in-between of photorealism and drawing. You know, Alex Ross does photorealism, Chris Samney does drawing, and this kind of weird mesh in between, I don't like it. But it's really not indicative of the art style within the book. So if you've ever been put off by that, pick it up anyway, because you will enjoy it, I believe.
Indeed. So the last book we're going to talk about is Weapon X, written and drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. which follows a story that we've seen a lot.
Yeah.
This time that Wolverine spent, we're going to be talking about it next week.
Yes, we will.
This time that Wolverine spent as this kind of, he's kidnapped, they experiment on him, they infuse his bones of adamantium, and a lot, the psychological nature of that, and the impact it has on him, and just the whole event, and then the consequences of it.
Yep.
Also, you see that in the Wolverine film as well.
Yes, not so much the Wolverine film, but X-Men 2. That's kind of the plot of X-Men 2, isn't it?
Is it the whole... We do see it in the Wolverine film, though.
We do?
Do they use the same footage?
No, maybe.
Anyway, what did you think of Weapon X?
You know what's brilliant about Wolverine? He is one of the very few characters, and I say there's only about 2, but he is one of the very few characters that survived the 90s. Him and, I'd say, Spider-Man came out pretty much unscathed. They were the top tier of the 90s, and this book really shows you why. This is fantastic, and it is a must-read, in my opinion. It's amazing to read a Wolverine story where you feel so connected to the character, and he says barely 2 words throughout the vast majority of this book. Like, he has no dialogue. The entire book is written from the perspective of the people experimenting on him, which is very interesting, you know. You do get the kind of cliched, the likable scientist who's doing it because, you know, he's got to pay the bills, and the intern-ish type woman, and then the evil Hugo Strange-style professor. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with a cliche here and there. The way this book is drawn is fantastic. I personally thought I'd be really put off by the absolutely grotesquely large hair of Wolverine. But it actually really suits the character, and some of the fight scenes he has, both with people and with the kind of animals that he's put up against, are brilliant. Some of the most violent scenes I've ever seen, and the ending is really something. Like, you think it's going one way, it goes completely nowhere, and then it twists again. It is M. Night Shyamalan-esque twist on a twist on a twist.
Yeah.
I think this book is absolutely outstanding. Go and read it. Go and read it. Go and read it.
Yeah, buy this book. Buy this book. I think it's my favourite of the one we've read. All of them we've read so far.
Definitely of this week. Actually, yeah.
It's my favorite. Like, the way this book looks is just incredible. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting it to look like that. And the color palette and just the way it exists on the panel, it's stunning.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to look at. And especially when he's in the lab and all the wires and tubes and he's meshed in with all that, and sometimes it can be quite unclear and you have to work out the image for yourself, and a lot of the time things will be similar colors, and just stunning. And yeah, the way that they write this book from the...
By the way, dialogue layout.
Yeah, so cool. And the way they write it from like the third person perspective, and you just get this like sense of detachment and alienation, and you get this psychological feel. It has this deeply psychological feel about it, and you just burn through it. Like, we've read some books that were written around the same time that are just just a nightmare to get through, and this is such an easy read. It's such a pleasant read. I could read it again right now. It's stunning, wonderful, and this is why I love doing this segment, is because we come across just gems like this that I might not have picked up otherwise. So my recommendation for you guys this week is definitely read Weapon X. It's stunning.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is by far the best book we read this week, and yeah, probably last week. I can't really remember what we read.
Well, it's between this and the Brian K. Vaughan one.
This.
But they're very,
not even close to me. This is much better. Okay, so that is this week's show. Please don't forget to join us next week for the final part of the Wolverine reading list. Also, leave comments down below what you think we should be reading.
Yeah, we got some comments last week saying we should read The Best There Is, and I think we're going to try and incorporate that because a lot of you suggested it.
We do have 3 books already in mind, but maybe we can squish a 4th in if we're feeling fruity. What? I don't know. Also, let us know on Twitter what you think at Comic Book Show 1.
And don't forget to join us on Friday. We are answering some of your questions in our very first Q&A.
We'll see you then.
That's it. Yeah, you didn't really know how to end that, did you?
No, see you then.
I have illness.